I remember the winter of 1891 like it was etched into my bones, the kind of cold that sinks in and never quite leaves. The morning train into Casper, Wyoming didn't whistle its arrival. It howled, screeching against the rails like a beast gut shot and dying. Snow whipped up in a sudden fury, a blizzard blindfolding the platform as I, Eleanor Hayes, stepped off the last car. My boots crunched into the ice, each step a gamble against the wind that clawed at my skirts and stole my breath. I was 58, no spring chicken, but I'd come west with a fire in my belly, chasing a promise scrawled in a newspaper ad that had whispered of partnership, not pity. There, through the swirling white, a shadowy figure loomed, tall, broad-shouldered, his hat pulled low against the gale. My heart leaped, foolish as it was, thinking this was him, Royce Harlan, the man who'd written those words that had pulled me across half the country. "Miss Hayes?" His voice cut through the storm, rough as gravel under hoof. "Yes," I called back, clutching my weathered trunk tighter, its handle biting into my palm like an old regret. He stepped closer, his eyes raking over me slow, from my graying hair peeking from under my bonnet to the lines time had carved around my eyes, down to the trunk that held what little I owned, faded dresses, a few books, and dreams I'd patched together after burying my husband back east. His face hardened, the promise in his letter crumbling like dry earth. "I thought you'd be younger," he said, flat as a frozen pond. The words hit harder than the wind. I let them hang there, frost in the air between us. "I'm 58, I replied, my voice steady even as my insides twisted. "And I got here on time." He shifted, boots scraping the platform. No offense meant, but I was hoping to start a family. Raise kids. Should have been clearer. "You were clear enough," I said, the chill seeping deeper. "I didn't come here to be chosen like cattle at auction. I came for a partner like you said." He looked away, jaw set like he'd bitten into something sour. "I'm sorry, ma'am. This won't work." And just like that he turned, striding off into the blizzard without a backward glance. No offer of a ride. No hand to help with my trunk. The train groaned behind me, pulling away down the tracks, leaving me stranded in a town that felt as welcoming as a grave. I stood there, the snow piling on my shoulders, reciting his ad in my mind like a prayer gone wrong. Royce Harlan, 59, seeking a steady woman to build something real. Not a bride, a partner. I'd believed it. Fool that I was, packing up my life after years of widowhood. The farm back in Ohio sold off to pay debts my late husband left behind. Thomas had been a good man once, but drink had turned him mean, his fists leaving bruises that faded slower than the love. I'd buried him 5 years back, along with the goats that had eaten everything but the fence and the Bible. Freedom had tasted sweet then, but lonely. This ad had promised more, honesty, shared burdens. Now it was just another lie freezing in the wind. The station clerk, a wiry man with a mustache like broom bristles, poked his head out, eyeing me without a lick of warmth. "Next eastbound ain't till Thursday, lady. You can leave that trunk inside if you want. Nobody'll touch it." I gripped the handle harder, the leather worn smooth from years of hauling my own weight. "I'll keep it," I said, and turned into the storm. No way was I leaving my burdens for strangers to poke through. I'd carried them this far. I'd carry them further. The streets of Casper were a blur of snow-blanketed buildings, the wind howling like lost souls. Boys by the tracks paused their stone skipping to stare, their eyes wide as if I were some ghost risen from the drifts. At the general store, a young clerk with freckles like scattered buckshot stopped sweeping the porch, broom frozen mid-swing, his gaze following me like I was trouble walking. The church bell tolled, slow and reluctant, echoing off the white world, as if even God was hesitant to welcome me. My legs ached, the trunk dragging like an anchor, but I kept on, one foot in front of the other. Whispers cut sharper than the cold, folks peering from windows, murmuring about the old woman off the train. I ignored them, focusing on the burn in my arms, the way my breath fogged the air. Inside, though, doubt gnawed at me. What was I doing here at my age, chasing a man's words across the wilds? Thomas had promised forever once, too, and look where that left me. Scarred and solitary, but I'd come for honesty, for a chance to build something that didn't break under pressure. Royce's rejection stung, a fresh wound on old ones, making me wonder if I was too worn for new beginnings. That's when I saw him, Harlan Cole, leaning against a post outside the saloon, his coat frayed at the shoulders, face lined with the kind of solitude that mirrors your own. He was rugged, broad as a barn door, with eyes the color of storm clouds and a jaw set firm under a weak stubble. He watched my slow march, not with pity, but something quieter, like recognition. "Need a hand with that, ma'am?" he called, voice low and steady, cutting through the wind without shouting. I stopped, sizing him up. Tall, maybe 60, with hands calloused from work, not idleness. "Depends," I said, my voice sharper than intended. "You offering help or judgment?" He pushed off the post, slow and easy, like he had all the time in the world. "Judgments are for fools who don't hold doors. Help comes without strings." He nodded at the trunk. "Storm's worsening. My cabin's just outside town. You can wait it out there if you like." I hesitated, the wind whipping my skirts, snow stinging my cheeks. Trust didn't come easy after Thomas, after years of fending alone. But there was something in his eyes. No leer, no calculation, just straightforward decency. "All right," I said finally, handing over the trunk. He hefted it like it weighed nothing, loading it into his wagon hitched nearby. The ride out was silent at first, the kind that listens more than speaks. Snow muffled the wheels, the horse, a sturdy bay named Rusty, plodding steady through the drifts. No rush in this frozen world, just the creak of wood and the occasional snort from the beast. Harlan didn't pry, didn't fill the air with nonsense. It was comforting in a way I'd forgotten. "Why'd you come west?" he asked eventually, glancing sideways, his breath clouding. "For honesty," I replied, staring at the white horizon. "Didn't find much in Royce Harlan." He grunted, a low rumble. "That man's a fool. Knows better, but chooses wrong every time. Town knows it." His words eased something in me a knot loosening. "And you? Live alone out here?" "Long enough to know alone don't mean empty," he said. "Lost my brother in the war. Been tending the land since. We shared sparingly after that. Me of Thomas's grave and the goats that had turned my farm into a wasteland. Him of battles that haunted his nights. No deep dives, just enough to bridge the gap, like testing ice before crossing." The cabin appeared over a rise, modest with a low chimney puffing smoke like a promise of warmth. Inside, pine and strong coffee scented the air, chasing away the chill. Harlan set my trunk by the fire without asking, ladling stew into bowls. We ate in quiet, the flames crackling, shadows dancing on log walls. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as a widow past her prime, but as a woman with stories worth hearing. As night deepened, a knock shattered the peace. 3 sharp raps. Too clean for a traveler lost in the storm. Harlan's hand shot to his rifle by the door, a habit born of darker days, his body tensing like a coiled spring. "Who's there?" he called, voice steady but edged. "Name's Silas Thorne," came the muffled reply. "Horse broke a leg 2 miles back. Near froze out here." Harlan glanced at me, eyes questioning. I nodded slightly. Couldn't turn a man away in this weather, even if my gut twisted. He opened the door cautious, rifle in hand. Silas stumbled in, coat slick with melting ice, a drifter with sharp eyes that scanned the room, too eager, lingering on me, on the trunk, on Harlan's gun. "Much obliged," Silas said, grinning wolfish. "Didn't peg you for a couple." "We ain't," I snapped, meeting his gaze. Assumptions burn low, like these embers. Harlan offered blankets by the fire, warning, "Keep your hands to yourself. Floor's yours." Silas settled, but his breathing never deepened into sleep. In the dead of night I whispered to Harlan across the room, "He ain't sleeping." "Too even," Harlan nodded, eyes on the man. "Seen his kind. Take more than they give." Come dawn, Silas stirred, too quick for a frozen soul, lunging for the rifle. Harlan blocked him with a shoulder slam that shook the walls, but Silas drew a hidden knife, blade glinting in the weak light. My heart hammered as I pulled my revolver from under the quilt. Thomas had taught me to shoot, back when love was new and threats were coyotes, not men. I'd buried worse, I warned, aim steady as my voice. "And I ain't in a forgiving mood today." Silas hesitated, eyes flicking between us, then dropped the blade with a clatter. He backed out, slamming the door, threats unspoken but thick in the air. Harlan exhaled, rubbing his shoulder. "Handled threats before, but that quick draw. Appreciate it." "Learned not to wait for someone else to pull the trigger," I said, holstering the gun. My hands shaking now the danger passed. Inside, emotions swirled, fear, relief, a spark of something warmer toward this man who'd stood with me, not for me. The storm cleared, but cold clung like a jealous lover. We worked outside, mending a fence wolves had torn through the night before. Harlan watched me hammer wire, his hands sure on the posts. "Strong grip," he noted, a hint of admiration. "Life teaches that," I replied, our eyes meeting longer than needed. There was a pull there, subtle, like gravity drawing two stars closer. That evening he pulled a second chair by the fire, shifting my trunk aside. We sat, coffee steaming, silence companionable. No words, but everything shared, glances that lingered, a brush of hands as he passed the mug. My heart, scarred and cautious, stirred with possibility. Was this what I'd come for? Not Royce's empty promises, but this quiet strength? Word spread in Casper like wildfire in dry grass. At the general store, whispers turned to judgments. Mrs. Larkin, the widow who ran the place, eyed me sharp. "Too old for fresh starts," she muttered to her clerk, young Billy with his freckles, who blushed and looked away. I walked tall, ignoring them, but inside it stung. Age was a thief, stealing youth but leaving wisdom no one valued. Yet Harlan's invitation to the Saturday barn dance lifted me. "Not to impress," he said. "To stand beside me while the town figures why I'm smiling more." I agreed, not halfway, but fully, my heart racing at the thought. Under a cleared sky we arrived arm in arm. Music swirled like a thawed river, fiddles and laughter filling the barn. Eyes shifted, voices hushed. Eleanor in a simple blue dress I'd mended myself. Harlan in borrowed finery, clean-shaven for once. We danced, steps smooth and matched, defying the whispers. Mrs. Larkin by the punch bowl sneered, "She's too old for him, loud enough to carry." I overheard, but kept stepping, Harlan's hand warm on my waist. "You always were enough," he grinned, pulling me closer. In that moment, emotions flooded, joy, defiance, a budding love that scared and thrilled me. Back at the cabin, fire banked low, he admitted, "Never asked why you came." "You never asked if I planned to stay," I countered, our coats brushing. We kissed, simple and sure, his lips tasting of coffee and promise. My heart opened, tentative, to this man who'd seen me stand and hadn't looked away. A month later, snow capping the hills. We weed in the small church, 6 pews with ranch hands like grizzled Tom and quiet Jed. Mrs. Larkin nodding reluctant approval, Billy the blacksmith's boy wide-eyed. The preacher, old as the hills, asked if Harlan took me. "Already have," he said. I smiled, true and full. He took me before he knew it. Our union was quiet, profound, but trouble brewed. Silas Thorne returned with a gang, spreading rumors of my dark past, lies about running from debts. Or worse. The town stirred, judgments sharpening. Tom warned us at the wedding, "Watch your back. Thorne's got a grudge." As we left the church, hand in hand, I felt the push-pull, love's warmth against danger's chill. What had I stirred in this wild land? My heart raced, not just with joy but with the thrill of fighting for something real. The days blurred into a rhythm at the cabin, but Silas's shadow loomed. One night, as Harlan and I sat by the fire, a shot rang out, glass shattering the window, a bullet embedding in the wall inches from my head. Harlan grabbed his rifle, pulling me down. "Stay low." Heart pounding, I crawled to my revolver, peering out. Shadows moved in the dark. Silas's men, circling like coyotes. "They want revenge," I whispered, fear mixing with fury. Harlan fired back, the boom echoing. For what? Humiliating him? One man yelped, hit, and they scattered. We barricaded the door, his arm around me protective. "You all right?" he asked, voice rough with worry. I nodded, but inside, emotions churned. Terror at the near miss, gratitude for his strength, a deepening love that made the danger worth it. "We've got each other," I said, kissing his cheek, but the attacks escalated. While mending a far fence, a stampede thundered. Wild horses, stirred by hidden riders. Dust choked the air as they bore down. "Run!" Harlan yelled, grabbing my hand. We dove behind rocks, my ankle twisting sharp. Pain shot up, but his arms pulled me close, shielding me as hooves pounded past. "Silas," he growled. "Has to be." Doubt crept in that night, bandaging my ankle by firelight. "Maybe I bring trouble," I confessed, tears stinging. "My past?" "Thomas's debts followed me once." He cupped my face. "Your past made you strong. We're in this together." The push-pull tore at me, wanting to stay, fearing I'd lose him. Then, in town for supplies, chaos erupted. A bank robbery. Silas's gang holding hostages. They spotted me, dragging me in as leverage.
Where's Cole?
Silas sneered, knife at my throat. Panic surged, but I stomped his foot, elbowing free. Shots rang out as Harlan burst in, guns blazing in a cowboy showdown, dust kicking, bullets whizzing. He disarmed one outlaw with a precise shot, tackled another, his masculine grit shining, fists flying like thunder. I grabbed a loose gun, firing a warning that felled a third, but a sniper aimed at Harlan from the shadows. My heart stopped.